Drake spent an entire song confessing in plain sight, and the same fans who claim they care about the culture are still doing TikTok dances to it like nothing was said. That is where we are right now. That is the actual reality of this moment. A man drops a record called Make Them Pay, embeds what reads like a full timeline of a missing woman, a Las Vegas car explosion, a prison setup, and an ocean burial into hit single packaging, and the algorithm rewards him with another 100 million streams, while anybody who points at the lyrics gets called a hater, a conspiracy theorist, or a Kendrick stan who cannot let it go. And the part that should make every single one of you uncomfortable, the part nobody on the major platforms wants to sit with, is that this is not a stretch interpretation. This is not internet detective work. This is the man himself, on his own record, on his own beat, in his own voice, walking through specific locations, specific dates, specific vehicles, specific body positions, specific burial geography, and daring you to hear it. You have been told this is just music. You have been told this is just bars. You have been told this is just Drake being Drake, doing what rappers do, talking his talk, flexing his lifestyle. That framing is the entire trick. That framing is how he gets away with it. And by the time we are done walking through this together, the only honest question left on the table is whether you are willing to accept that the man you defended for the last decade told you exactly who he is. And you chose the hook over the confession because the hook was easier to dance to. I am not asking you to believe me. I am asking you to listen to him. Because when we get to the Bahamas bar, when we get to the Albany Marina line, when we get to the Serafina sequence, when we get to the line where he literally tells you he is best as the villain, you're going to understand why this video had to be made. And you're going to understand why the people running cover for him have gone quiet. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like, and subscribe. Let's get into it. So let us set the table properly. Because none of this lands if you do not understand the field it is being played on. Aubrey Drake Graham is, by every available metric, the most commercially dominant rapper of the streaming era. He is the most streamed artist on the platform that defines what music success even means in 2026. He has more charting singles than the Beatles. He has career numbers that read like a typo. And for the last several years, while he has been racking up those numbers, he has been engaged in what most casual observers think is a rap beef with Kendrick Lamar that started loudly in 2024 and supposedly ended after Not Like Us and the Super Bowl halftime show. That is the surface story. That is the story the press release writes. That is the story the playlist editors are comfortable with. The actual story is that Kendrick Lamar has spent the better part of a decade trying to communicate, in increasingly explicit language across multiple albums, that the industry he came up in is structurally evil, that the people at the top of it are protected by money and media, and that something specific and unforgivable happened to people he loves that the public was never told the truth about. That is the framework. That is the context. And inside that framework, baby Keem, the artist who is biologically tied to Kendrick, the one whose mother has been a subject of grief, mourning, and coded language across multiple records on both sides of this conflict, becomes the emotional center of why none of this is just rap. The stakes here are not who has the better hook. The stakes are not who won the radio cycle. The stakes are whether the most powerful artist in the genre has spent multiple album cycles encoding what amounts to a confession into songs that his fans pay to scream back at him in arenas. That is the cultural stake. The financial stake is that a single one of these songs generates more money in a quarter than most rappers see in a career, and every stream of it funds the legal media and PR machinery that keeps the story buried. And the reputational stake is that an entire generation of hip-hop fans is being asked, in real time, to decide whether they care more about the catalog or about the truth. And what makes Make Them Pay and the broader Free sequence so different from anything that came before it is the level of specificity. This is not, I run this city. This is not, they hate me because I won. This is Albany Marina. This is 100 subpoenas. This is lobster ravioli at Serafina. This is a Maserati. This is Gilbert Arenas. This is the Philly Eagles. This is a penthouse next to Jordan in the Bahamas. This is best as the villain. This is industry is really evil. That is the level we are operating at. So the question I want you to hold in your head as we move through every single one of these bars is simple. At what point does a pattern of references stop being coincidence and start being a record of events? And when we get to the Albany Marina coordinates breakdown later in this video, I promise you, you are going to understand why this conversation cannot be unhad. So let us walk through the visible, verifiable surface of what is actually on this record. Because before anybody accuses me of reaching, I want every person watching to understand we are starting with what the man literally said into a microphone and released to the public on a major label distribution deal. The first piece of surface evidence is the hook itself. The word free is repeated across the chorus structure of this song, and the framing is built around a feminine voice, a feminine longing, a feminine plea to be released. This is not Drake asking to be released from his record contract. This is not Drake asking the IRS to leave him alone. This is a vocal performance built around a woman wanting to be free, and Drake positioning himself as the one with the key. Strip away the production, strip away the melody, and what you are left with is a song that frames a captive woman as its emotional center and the artist as the captor narrator. That is the first piece of evidence, and it is sitting in plain sight on streaming. The second piece is the Albany Marina line. Albany is a real, identifiable luxury development into the Bahamas, same Bahamas Drake has been pointing toward across multiple album cycles, with album covers, music videos, and lifestyle posts. The Marina is a specific water access point. He pairs that location with the phrase 100 subpoenas, which on the surface plays as a legal flex, but when read against the broader allegation timeline that Kendrick's camp has been pushing through Euphoria, 616 in LA, and Not Like Us, reads as a direct dollar figure pointing at law enforcement payment. Exactly the kind of operational detail a person who wanted to brag without confessing would slide into a brag bar. The third piece of surface evidence is the Serafina sequence, where he name drops a specific Italian restaurant, pairs it with lobster, pairs lobster with the ocean, pairs Italian with a phonetic walk toward Maserati, and lands the next bar on a Maserati, a car that has been at the center of speculation about a specific Las Vegas shooting incident for years. That is not one coincidence. That is 4 linked images in 2 bars. 4. And the fourth piece is the now infamous best as the villain line, where he abandons even the pretense of metaphor and tells you what he is directly, in a hook-ready cadence designed to be chanted back at him. He is not asking you to figure it out. He is telling you and trusting that the production is loud enough to make you ignore it. And those are just the 4 most surface-level pieces. We have not even gotten to the Philly Eagles drop down and get your eagle online, which on its face is a sports reference and underneath is a body position metaphor so specific that once you hear it, you cannot unhear it. We have not gotten to the Gilbert Arenas bar, which links guns in arenas, gambling disputes, and 2009 in a way that is too specific to be a coincidence with the Vegas timeline. We have not gotten to the Bahamas penthouse next to Jordan, which on the surface reads as an NBA flex, but in the context of the nicknames Drake has been documented, giving baby Keem in past interviews reads as a man telling you he lives next door to the symbolic resting place of a person he is connected to a loss of. Every one of these is verifiable. Every one of these is on the record. Every one of these is in the lyrics database on Genius right now. And I think we need to set the record straight on what is actually happening here, because none of these are isolated. They are a network. They reference each other. They build on each other. They form a map, and the map points somewhere specific. So when somebody in your comments tells you it is just bars, ask them this simple question. How many just bars does it take before it stops being just bars? And oh, do I have more for you? Because if you thought the surface layer was uncomfortable, the cultural layer is where the floor falls out. And I promise you the people defending him in the comment section right now are really not going to like what we are about to walk into. There is a reason the artists closest to this story have been speaking in code for years. There is a reason the people who actually know what happened do not say what happened out loud. There's a reason every time somebody in the culture gets close, a stream count vanishes, a record gets pulled, or a narrative shift hits the timeline overnight. And in the next stretch of this video, we are going to walk through exactly what Kendrick Lamar has been saying, exactly what Baby Keem has been saying, and exactly how the people around them have been reacting in ways that confirm this is not a rap beef at all. It is a grief campaign disguised as one. So if you are still here with me, take a second, hit that like button, so the algorithm pushes this to the people who need to see it, and let us go. The cultural evidence starts with Kendrick Lamar himself, and you have to be willing to read his catalog as a long-form testimony it has always been. On Euphoria, Kenny tells Drake directly that he hates the way he walks, the way he talks, the way he dresses, and embedded in that song are lines about deception, about masks, about people who hide behind a smile while harming the people closest to them. That is the first piece. The second piece is 616 in LA, where Kendrick spends the entire record talking about a mole, a leak, a traitor inside Drake's own camp who has been feeding him information. Why does that matter to this conversation? Because it confirms that the information flow inside Drake's organization is not as locked down as the lifestyle videos make it look. And it confirms that Kendrick is operating with source material, not speculation. The third piece is Meet the Grahams, which is a record so chilling that radio stations did not want to play it on rotation, where Kendrick addresses members of Drake's family directly and warns them. That record was not a diss. That record was a notification. The fourth piece is Not Like Us itself, the biggest song of 2024, where the now infamous Trying to Strike a Chord, and it's probably a minor line, is the bar everybody focuses on. But the line that actually matters for this conversation is the I See Dead People intro, an explicit horror movie reference that Kendrick uses to frame the entire record. He is telling you he is haunted. He is telling you there are ghosts. And on Drake's Make Them Pay, Drake responds to that framing directly, with my sixth sense is kicking in 'cause all I hear is people that are dead to me, which is not a coincidental answer. It is a structural one. Kendrick says he sees dead people. Drake says he hears them. They are referencing the same ghosts. And then, on the Baby Keem side of the equation, you have multiple records where Keem has spoken about his mother, where he has spoken about a loss the public never got full clarity on, where he has spoken about people who pretend to be family while operating against the family. And in interviews, in deleted social posts, in subtle Instagram story moments, the people closest to this situation have signaled, again and again, that the story the public got is not the story they lived. Now, I want to acknowledge something here, because I am not interested in selling you on something I cannot back up. There is a counterargument to all of this, and the counterargument is that rappers reference dramatic imagery all the time, that ocean and body and burial metaphors are part of the genre's DNA, that Drake is a known method writer who layers his songs with references that mean nothing, and that fans like us are doing the same pattern-matching Kendrick fans accuse Drake fans of doing in reverse. That is a fair counterargument. I will give it the weight it deserves. And then I will dismantle it, because the difference between coincidence and pattern is volume, and the volume on this is overwhelming. One Bahamas reference is a vacation. 5 Bahamas references across 5 album cycles, paired with specific marinas, specific neighborhoods, specific water imagery, and a song literally called Free, with a feminine vocal pleading for release, is a thesis. One sports metaphor is a punchline. A sequence of sports metaphors that all happen to describe specific body positions, specific impact geometries, and specific injury locations is something else entirely. And the people in the culture who know the difference between coincidence and pattern have been telling you, in their own work, which one this is. Joe Budden has hinted at it on his podcast, in carefully lawyered language. Academics, of all people, has signaled it in moments when he forgets which side he is selling on that day. Multiple producers and engineers who have worked in adjacent rooms have said things in private settings that have leaked into the public record. And every time one of those moments hits the timeline, it disappears in 48 hours. The same way Not Like Us allegedly disappeared from 100 million streams overnight, a moment Drake himself references on Make Them Pay, when he calls himself a magician who makes streams vanish. He is bragging about it, on the record, while the culture pretends not to hear it. And that gear shift, that moment where you stop hearing rap beef and start hearing something else entirely, that is where this conversation has to go next. Now I need you to lock in, because we are about to leave the world of bars and lyrics and enter the world of how this is actually possible in the first place. Because none of this works without infrastructure. None of this works without a system. None of this works without an entire apparatus of business, media, and legal protection sitting underneath the artist and absorbing the impact every time the truth gets close. And this is the part of the conversation that the basic reaction channels will not touch, because it requires you to understand how the music industry actually functions, not how the marketing department wants you to think it functions. Let us start with the label structure. Drake, for the bulk of his career, has been signed through a deal that runs through Universal Music Group, the largest music corporation on earth. Universal owns Republic Records. Republic distributes OVO. OVO distributes Drake. And on the Kendrick side, Universal also owns Interscope, which distributes PG Lang and the broader Kendrick ecosystem. Take a second and absorb what that means. Both sides of the biggest rap beef of the modern era are, at the corporate level, the same company. The same shareholders profit when Drake wins. The same shareholders profit when Kendrick wins. The same shareholders profit when the beef itself becomes the cultural event of the year. That is the first systemic angle. And it is the one that explains why neither side has been pulled, neither side has been canceled, and neither side has faced any meaningful corporate consequence, despite the severity of the accusations flying in both directions. The label does not care who is right. The label cares that you are streaming. The second systemic angle is the streaming economy itself. When Drake brags about 100 million streams vanishing, He is pointing at a real, documented phenomenon. Streaming platforms have the ability to adjust, remove, or recategorize plays for a variety of stated reasons, including fraud detection, licensing disputes, and territorial restrictions. Reports across multiple outlets have documented that Not Like Us experienced unusual chart and stream behavior in specific windows. Whether that is platform-driven, label-driven, legal-driven, or some combination of the three, what it tells you is that the numbers you see on the leaderboard are not neutral. They are the output of a system that can be influenced. And the artist with the deeper infrastructure, the longer label relationships, and the bigger publishing portfolio has more influence over that system than the artist, who is, by his own positioning, the outsider. That is the second angle. The third systemic angle is media. And this is where you have to start asking why specific outlets, specific personalities, and specific platforms have treated this story the way they have. Why do certain blogs, certain podcasts, and certain commentary channels keep returning to the framing that the beef is over, that Drake has bounced back, that Kendrick has moved on, that the culture has decided? Because in the documented economy of hip-hop media, access is currency. Access to artists, access to label events, access to advanced music, access to interviews. And the artist with the bigger machine controls more of that currency. The artist who controls more of that currency shapes more of a narrative. And the narrative, over time, becomes the story even when the evidence says something else. That is not a conspiracy theory. That is the documented operating logic of an industry that has been studied, written about, and confirmed by insiders across multiple decades. From Jerry Heller's accounts to the Master P era to the recent class action wave against major labels over royalty structures. The infrastructure is real. The mechanisms are documented. And when Drake says on the record industry is really evil, he is not making a vague poetic statement. He is describing a system he has spent 15 years learning how to operate inside of. And the reason that line lands with such weight is because it comes from a person who would know. So when you stack those three systemic angles on top of each other, the label common ownership, the streaming influence economy, and the access-controlled media ecosystem, what you end up with is an environment in which a song like Make Them Pay can contain the level of specificity it contains, can reach the audience it reaches, and can be defended in the public square the way it is being defended, without the artist ever having to face the question the lyrics raise. That is not because the question is unfair. That is because the system is structured to make sure the question never gets asked on the platforms that matter. And once you see that structure clearly, you cannot unsee it. The entertainment layer was the bait. The cultural layer was the hook. The industry layer is the trap, and we have been inside it the whole time. And here is the truth bomb that ties this entire video together. The single piece of analysis I want every person watching to walk away with. Because once you understand this, you will never hear a Drake record the same way again. The thing that makes Make Them Pay different from every other coded record in the catalog is the closing posture. He is not denying. He is not deflecting. He is not pretending to be the victim of a smear campaign. He is, by his own words, on his own song, embracing the identity of the villain, confirming the industry is evil, taunting the people who have spent years trying to tell the truth, and pointing directly at a location only he allegedly knows the coordinates of. That is not the behavior of a man who is worried about being caught. That is the behavior of a man who has done the math on his own protection and concluded he cannot be caught. And the most chilling line in the entire record, the line I want you to sit with for a second, is the one where he tells Kendrick, in plain English, that his sixth sense is kicking in because all he hears is people that are dead to him. Read against Kendrick's I See Dead People intro on Not Like Us. What Drake is doing in that bar is acknowledging the ghost directly. He is telling Kendrick, on a hit record, in front of 100 million streams, that he hears them too. That is not coincidence. That is not method writing. That is an answer. And the reason it matters, the reason this is the truth bomb, is because it means we are no longer in a situation where one side is alleging and the other side is denying. We are in a situation where both sides are referencing the same ghosts in the same language on the same airwaves, and only one of them is asking you to grieve them while the other one is asking you to dance over them. That is the actual configuration of this moment. That is what this conflict has always been. It was never two rappers trying to win the summer. It was one rapper trying to make the culture remember, and another rapper testing how far you can push a confession into a hook before the audience stops being willing to absorb it. And the answer, reportedly devastatingly, is that you can push it very far. You can push it past the bar about ocean burial. You can push it past the bar about cops on payroll. You can push it past the bar about catching the grieving son lacking. You can push it past every single line we walk through tonight, and the playlist still adds you. The algorithm still promotes you, the comment section still defends you, and the people who notice still get called crazy. That is the reveal. That is the major truth. Not that Drake is the villain, because he told you that himself. The reveal is that the system that made him let him tell you knew he would not be able to do anything about it, and built the marketing campaign around the confession itself. He is not getting away with it despite the lyrics. He is getting away with it because of them. The lyrics are the receipt, and the streams are the laundering. But here is why I am not finishing this video on a dark note. And here is why I want every single one of you to leave with something other than despair. Because Kendrick Lamar is still standing. The good kid from Compton. The man who built PG Lang from scratch with Dave Free without asking the industry for permission. The artist who turned his Pulitzer into a platform and his platform into a movement. The man who headlined the most watched halftime show in Super Bowl history while staring directly into the camera and rapping the most damaging diss record in modern rap history at the man across the stage in spirit. That man is still here. He is still working. He is still building. He is still raising his family on his own terms, in his own city, with his own community around him. And every single piece of evidence we walk through tonight, every coded bar, every coordinate reference, every taunt, every magician brag, every villain confession, every one of them confirms the same thing. The only reason any of this was said is because the truth teller would not stop telling the truth. You do not write a record like Make Them Pay if Not Like Us did not land. You do not respond to a ghost story if there are no ghosts. You do not point at the burial site if nobody is looking for it. The volume of the confession is the size of the impact. And Kendrick made an impact so loud that the response had to be a full album cycle, a full marketing campaign, a full streaming push, and a hit record built around a feminine voice pleading to be free. That is not a man who won. That is a man who is buying time. And while he is buying time, Kendrick is making music, raising his kids, building his company, working with baby Keem on the next chapter, and reminding the culture every time he opens his mouth that there is a different way to do this. One person makes music designed to bury the truth. The other makes music designed to free it. And in the long run, in the only run that ever actually matters, the artist who tells the truth is the artist who outlasts the artist who hides it. That has always been true. It is true here. And the fact that you are watching this video, the fact that you made it to this point, the fact that you are willing to sit with the discomfort instead of running back to the playlist, tells me something important. The culture is course correcting. Slowly, painfully, one viewer at a time. And as long as that is happening, the right person is still winning, even when the charts say otherwise. And this, I promise you, is only the start. Because what is coming next in this story is bigger than this song. Reports across multiple insider outlets suggest that Baby Keem has new music on the way that addresses this directly, in language that will not be possible to misread. Industry chatter, including from sources who have been reliable on this story for years, suggests that the legal pressure around specific incidents referenced in the broader Drake catalog is quietly building in ways the public has not been shown yet. And there is a date on the calendar, a specific window in the next few months, that multiple people in the know have been pointing at as the moment everything we have walked through tonight either gets confirmed in the open or gets buried for another decade. I cannot tell you the date yet. I can tell you that when it lands, you're going to want to be subscribed, because we are going to break it down the same way we broke down tonight, bar by bar, source by source, system by system, until the picture is complete. So if you have not yet, hit subscribe, turn on the bell, and stay with me. And in the meantime, the video I want you to watch next is the one I have been building for weeks, the one I have been waiting to release until the moment was right, and the moment is right now. It is the full breakdown of how Not Like Us actually got pulled, who pulled it, what the streaming data really showed in the 72 hours before it disappeared, and what one specific phone call between two major label executives, reportedly placed in the days after the Super Bowl, set in motion that changed the entire trajectory of this beef. That video drops the full receipts. That video names the executives. That video walks through the exact mechanism the magician used to make 100 million streams vanish. You are not going to want to miss it. Click it now. I will see you